we need to mention because of what's in the news at the moment every single day, and I think it's I'm trying to avoid it, but it's difficult not to. And we'll kind of roll it into one, think trade tariffs, supply chain challenges. So we've got obviously our friend Donald over the pond throwing grenades left, right, and centre. We'll mention Brexit very briefly. No, few years ago now, there was the Suez Canal incident, which highlighted potential, really opportunity for local manufacturing to grow and enhance that. There was obviously COVID, which personally we saw a huge issue with supply chain, with certain components, on going from a 1 month lead time to, I think the worst we ever said was we're now pushed out to a 36-month lead time because all the big companies stole all the components for computers as opposed to cars. Strange stories I heard that huge, high percentage of wire looms, for BMW cars were all made in Ukraine, which nobody ever knew about. So BMW hit problems with supply chain of wire looms, and little things like that halted the whole of production. And we saw it here, one or two very, very low value components, scuppered the whole production line. And it was redesigning things. So roll that all into one. I mean, and obviously the key topic at the moment is tariffs. I think you touched on it earlier that I think, you work your way around them as best you can, and we see how we go. But, have you any amazing insights into all of that? How are we going to land in a week's time? Have you got a
But
crystal ball?
the first thing I'd use, Nigel, is an analogy that I've used so many times before. It's the shoe and the shoelace. Um, you would pay decent money for decent shoes, and you just feel that you get the shoelaces for free. If they didn't provide shoelaces with the shoe, then you start to value the shoelaces, and this is how it works with componentry. And I do recall during the horrible times of COVID, the head of or global head of Ford um, stood up and he did a podcast or a piece to camera where he said that he was not aware that they were so reliant on the fact that they didn't make any chips themselves.
Right. Yes.
And this is the shoe and the shoelace, isn't it? You can make vehicles and have them sitting there waiting for the computer chips. And I think that vulnerability specifically to lack of own manufacture of computer chips is rumbling on still, with the US trying to take ownership of that type of thing. I think we're seeing a global push for resources. Those will be natural resources. We're talking obviously the minerals that are in the earth, and we've heard a lot about tariffs being applied to try to rectify that. That would also be applied to primary processing of aluminium and steel. So we're seeing tariffs come off the back of particularly America wanting to take control of that and make sure that they get, if you like, the cheapest prices for US consumers ultimately and their companies. But it is a rush for resources, and you mentioned about the Suez Canal. You're seeing that come into the news as well because strategic global assets not only include the minerals but the ability to move the minerals around.
Yeah.
And you see that there's a bit of a land grab. I believe there's a lot going on in Africa and has been for quite some time. We've maybe Chinese and other influence trying to identify, negotiate, and secure future supply of resources. This is just intensifying, really, bringing it down to a manufacturer level in the UK from that global scale. Inevitably, all tariffs will affect people, but commercial reality is that people need things, and politicians buy stuff. They never make stuff. So I think ultimately it rebalances, but there may be a fair period of turmoil ahead of that, and it will affect everyone in all sorts of different ways. If you knew how that was going to directly affect a company,
Yes, it's great. Make a lot of money, I think.
make a lot of money and invest your money on the stock exchange, etc. Accordingly, I think we can say with some certainty that we're full of uncertainty over the
Yeah.
coming period.